Alright, hello everybody. I am SunApple here. I am one of the hosts for NAMT23, and I am actually going to be here to do this Quals showcase, or not Quals, Round of 32 showcase, I'm sorry. I'm losing track of time, I've been streaming for so long. But yeah, I'm going to be here with one of the players actually, Sparky Hyphen.
Yo, what is up, everybody? It's always nice being introduced by the proper name. Please,
full name.
Again in the future. I have the reminder set in my calendar for the name change. It is soon. Hopefully, I can get the name. But as you were saying, round of 32 is upon us. The round of 64 came and went like a flash, as can be expected when you have basically everybody playing at the exact same time. It makes the day go by so much faster, but oh boy, I cannot wait to see what is in store. Do we stay in a best of 7 format for this round, or do we move on to that best of 9?
Yes, you are actually right. We do stay in this best of 7 format, so it is still going to continue to be first to 4. So these matches are still going to continue to be decently quick, hopefully, for some players. Hopefully it's not as many sweeps. We did see some tiebreakers in round of 64, so that's good to see. I hope we can see more later on.
Yeah,
but
the sheer nature of it should lend itself to it, but I think you were about to bring us into the
yes.
start of the round of 32 showcase. Let's show them the first map.
Yep, and here we go. Rice 1 is going to be Guitar Still Sucks.
Oh boy, I love this song. Is it on an upgrade? I see the 207 BPM.
Yes, I believe this is on 1.1, and we will go... Oh, shoot. I forgot to change the skin. But, yeah, just a slight skin is wrong. But yeah, this map is actually going to be our speed map, so you'll see quite a few patterns similar to the Rice one in the last pool, which are just super speedy to play. And I think, as we saw in the last pool, quite a few players are gonna struggle a bit more on this type of map than some of the other Rice maps. This and Rice 5, I remember in the last pool, were some of the maps that a lot of people had struggled with.
Yeah, and I mean, whenever I see Bumblefoot, I always think of very intricate timing, sometimes even attributing itself to technical, if I were to use that way to describe it. But this is pretty broken up, a lot of interesting snaps here and there, bit of broken upstreams, but when it really does start to kick off, you gotta be able to make it through these phrases relatively unscathed. Look about similar to Rice 1 from the last pool, but definitely a little bit speedier in nature. A lot of flams as well in the transitions. Definitely got to watch out for those. As a bit of a note, I am not privy to anything in this pool. I know you did introduce me as one of the players. I haven't seen these maps yet, so raw reactions right now as we make our way into the last quarter of the chart.
Yeah, we see a lot of single streams at the start of the map, and more of those broken up streams, as you were saying earlier. And really, just these differences in stream structures really can catch off a few players if they're not too prepared or too comfortable with these BPMs. We do see these flams just really changing. I guess snapping really quickly is going to be quite a bit of a struggle for some players to act super well, since it still can be act, I guess sort of act for some of the higher end players. I know, like the top, I want to say the top half of seats may still find this as act, but
yeah, for sure, that's a pretty apt way of describing it. But that will do it for our first Rice chart here. We can go ahead and move on to the next one here.
Yep, and we'll be seeing Ascension to Heaven, the Icy World map from the I'm trying to think. It's from one of Icy World's Eterna packs, and this is actually quite a popular map from what I remember. I think I remember seeing on Twitter today someone like posting their score on this. So definitely a map that is quite well known to quite a few people, and I think that may lend to some people wanting to pick this a lot more. Very similarly to how people really wanted to play Hills Have Eyes in last rounds. Rice 2, so hopefully we see another just like very popular pick in the Rice 2 category here.
Yeah, bumping up the BPM considerable amount. I think we're going from what 187 to 210 here, maybe taking out the hands, replacing it with more traditional jumps just from the looks of it. So replacing the density for speed is always nice, fair trade-off, I would say, in certain instances. But this is gonna start maybe capping out some of the players in the lower end of the bracket. But I mean, when it comes to Rice, I mean, the level is starting to increase at an exponential rate, so unsurprising to see it here on a half rate.
Yeah, and as you were saying, Hills Have Eyes being a bit more dense than this map, though I feel like this map is a bit harder than Hills Have Eyes, since most of Hills Have Eyes is like kind of basic, just hand stream and then like trilling all over the place, whereas this, it has a lot more pattern variety in just throughout the entire map, as well as this break here, which I think people will be appreciative of, especially since it's quite a bit longer than the break in Hills Have Eyes. But as soon as it's over, we go straight back into these streams, and just we do see some of the hand streams that we saw in Hills Have Eyes, but I feel like just the BPM increase is gonna cause quite a few problems for some players.
Yeah, and transitioning in between some of the structures here through these phrases is going to be pretty important to watch some inherent trills just by nature of trying to pack these notes as maybe fairly as possible. I think fair might be the best way to describe it, because you can only put so much in 4 columns, and it looks like this ending traditional 2 Ascension to Heaven, bit of a relaxed one, so definitely don't take your hands off the keyboard just yet, but hopefully these last couple of releases don't determine a point and that last run.
Yeah, who truly did put these LNs in my Rice map. But
For
with
sure.
that being said, Rice 2 is done and over with. Another quite short map, actually. Going into Rice 3, we will be seeing Wakusei Rabbit. This is another re-upload. I don't remember exactly what we needed to do to re-upload. It may be an Eterna convert. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, we'll be seeing this. This is quite a technical chart from what I remember. I did this replay a few days ago, so I'm not fully caught up in this pool. But yeah, I remember struggling quite a bit, just like on the density, I guess, of this map especially.
Yeah, but thankfully, mercifully very short, only a minute and a half. OD8 as well. I think credit to Clias based on the diff name. Credit to them for allowing y'all to use this chart here. And oh boy, some of these opening patterns are definitely very interesting. A lot of basically just gluts all over the place to try and throw you off if you're not used to transitioning into repeated jumps. Might cause a bit of concern, but if you are adept at those quick motions, might be able to get away with it as we make our way into the back half of the chart. A bit of a break before I imagine the next volley starts to come out, and yep, here come the mini Jacticola bursts as well.
Yeah, and I feel like these just patterns in general are very, very easy to miss on, and definitely stressful, especially the second half, where the streams and midi jacks come all over, just all over the place, and it's really, really stressful to play because you feel like you're gonna be taking a miss on any of these patterns, especially just being so late into the map. And this map is also another short map, so misses will matter so much more than normal. And here we just see so many bursts come through.
And just as quickly as it began, it is now over. So definitely an interesting one to watch out for. I imagine the more physical players might want to gravitate towards this one to try and maybe get a physical edge over their opponents.
Yeah, that's personally one of my favorite maps in pool, mostly based on song, but still, I'm super excited for players to be able to play that specifically. But with that being said, wait, hold on, where's my Rice 4 replay? Here, well, it seems like I lost my Rice 4 replay, but we'll go into Rice 5 for now, just to continue on pace. And it is going to be Vortex Cyclone by Yunomaya.
Very nice. Another pretty short map as well, just clocking in over 2 minutes. And I mean, Demi always knocks it out of the park with these replays. Double-digit 300 count, I imagine, will make a lot of the top players maybe want to gravitate to it innately.
Yep, exactly. And here we will be going into it. This is our, let me check our notes that we had. It is the, wait, what just happened with the map? Okay, whatever. I believe this is our mixed rice pick, and we do see quite a few of those like mixed rice elements as we saw in the last pool, which with quite a few jacks as well as just like mini jacks and stream placed all over the place, just for people to really bait 200s and misses and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of these speed jack transitions gonna cause a little bit of concern for some players, but I think clocking in at 160 BPM don't hang around for too long, so won't be that bad overall. But I think the transitions in between the burst, gotta be able to maintain the finger control in between, and I think being able to ratio your way through them, maintain the accuracy will separate those good players from the ones that have mastered this side of rice mapping techniques.
Yeah, and I think this map is going to be quite similar to Blur Ink as we saw in the last pool, with quite a few jacks as well as just streams just put in all over the place, and that was definitely quite a popular pick from quite a few players. I saw a lot of protects on it, and I kind of feel like this is going to be another thing that's going to be protected quite a lot just because it's kind of decisive, just with everything happening all at once basically.
Yeah, for sure, and this ending quarter of the map, it's basically just more abrasive patterning, if I were to describe it. A lot of bursts, a lot of jacks once again making the reappearance, just trying to keep you on your toes till the end of the ride, but once you do get there, hopefully the FC is still intact, and you make it through. Rice 5 here.
Yep. And that was Rice 5, and we will now be going back to Rice 4, though this Rice 5 is our last Rice map. But we'll be seeing Marmalade Butcher Immortality Math Club by Felix Spade.
It's nice to see a Marmalade Butcher map that I can actually pronounce.
Honestly, I feel like every single Marmalade Butcher map I've seen as of recently has been just such a long name, and it's really nice that it's just basic English here.
Yeah, and very speedy introduction of Jump Stream, I imagine, being in the Rice 4 slot, basically going to be another quote-unquote like mixed Rice structure in between, so
yes.
Right now, very tame introduction in comparison to some of the other ones we have seen.
Yeah, we definitely do see a bit of an easier map just so far. This may be an ACK battle for this just first half, but we will see it pick up quite a bit, just like how many Marmalade Butcher songs often do. But yeah, just waiting on that to happen. I feel like this first half is going to be quite close for quite a few players going up against each other. But really, this map, I think, is one of the longer maps that we've seen so far in the Rice category. So, gonna test this quite a bit more accuracy stamina for some players. Just because it's just the length, and it's just the length in general.
Yeah, for sure. I imagine if there are like two Rice-oriented players going up against each other, this one might actually be a target for a ban just based off the length alone. You definitely don't want to waste too much stamina playing through a match. So if you know that you're evenly matched and you know that the LNs might be out of the equation, this one might be one to eye up to get rid of, unless you know that you can basically like go for 3.5 minutes non-stop.
Yeah, though it being around 3.5 minutes long definitely allows you to take at least 1 or 2 breaks if you have good good ratio in general. Just to have a chance to like actually have at least 1 or 2 mistakes in the beginning, or I guess towards the end if you really need it. And here I believe it should be getting more and more difficult. We see this one anchor on the second and third column all over the place really can screw people up if they aren't too comfortable on playing anchors, and just the density itself has increased by so much.
Yeah, and I think that's more attributed to just the nature of Marmalade Butcher songs. There's definitely always a section where either there's a guitar solo or a drum solo where it's reflected in the mapping, and we can see it here going into the last quarter. It really doesn't stop from here on out by the looks of it. Some hands start to come in, a lot of jumps, a lot of two-handed trills as well. Got to be able to manage the jumps in between those, because you lose track of them for just a moment. That's really where those bad judgments are going to start to come out, and in worst case scenarios, even misses.
Yeah, we saw a lot of people kind of getting lost in the sauce, I guess you could say, in Rice 2 from last pool. So it's definitely possible to just, I guess, miss accidentally just because you misread a pattern, and especially there, it's really prone to happen. So you best keep your concentration up as much as possible in this map. But that is going to be it, and that is going to be the Rice category finished. And here we will be going onto the hybrids now, into the order that is normal, and going into Avin's All In by CRZ Hinako. And I guess a thing to add onto this map specifically was that the song was used in 40M as the SV map. However, we will be seeing Hinako's non-SV version, which we asked them to upload, of this map. And it is quite a hard hybrid in my opinion. It's definitely a bit more Rice oriented from where is it? I'm trying to think whether it's this one or the next one. I think this one's a bit more Rice oriented.
Remains to be seen, and you actually answered the question I was going to ask you as to which way this one leans, and judging by this chorus section, start to see the more of a Rice section begin to develop a lot of quick, swingy grace notes littering the playfield, and those bursts in between start to straighten things out just a little bit. And we make our way into the back half of the chart. You start to imagine that the LNs are going to start to make their appearance, and sure enough, they start to intrude on the playfield a little bit. Very short overall, so you can probably get away with playing them like Rice notes, but there's definitely some of longer lengths to watch out for. Maybe a little bit of a release element as well.
Yeah.
Make our way into the last third.
Yeah, all these releases are really at weird timings, along with some of the Rice notes, or weird snappings alongside some of the Rice notes. Can screw up some players' accuracies. And here especially we see really awkward release timings as well as Rice, so accuracy is definitely going to be going down. Quite a stark difference from any of the hybrid picks in the last pool, so may want to watch out on these kinds of maps and just picking them in general.
Yeah, for sure. By sheer virtue, thankfully, mercifully, the OD just a little bit lower, 7.6, so giving you a little bit bigger of a window to hit some of those, dare I say, disgusting grace note structures, like just a whole bunch of walls, whole bunch of flams. Just watch out if you are going to play this. The more tech-oriented amongst you might want to lean towards this one as a pocket hybrid pick.
Yes, I think this map will definitely be one of the... I want to say this map isn't going to be played too much just because of the random... I guess not necessarily random, but the awkward releases. But with that being said, we'll now be going on to Hybrid 2. It is going to be Higashi by... Artist is Katagiri, mapped by Japanias. I'm not good with names, but that's my guess.
Pretty decent guess, and we can get this one underway. Judging by the difficulty of the Rice structures in the other one, I imagine this was going to be a little bit more LN leaning, and sure enough, right out of the gate.
Yes, and this is definitely quite difficult on the LN side. I remember this one. Now that I see the background, it is quite a memorable background. And it's just like LNs all over the place, quite a lot more LNs than Hybrid 1, so... LN players will definitely be leaning over more towards this side if they're going to want to play any kind of hybrid. and we continue to see, I guess, more of a jacky sections for these hybrid maps, similar to the last maps in the pool, and very, very different from Hybrid 1 in this pool, though.
Yeah, for sure. That being said, definitely don't want to sleep on some of the rice structures, but yeah, the main difficulty, some of these bursts are very nasty to read through as we begin to build up into the back half of the chart. It kind of actually reminds me of like a harder, faster version of the ballistic map that we saw in LN3 in the last pool, where you have the hole and then a bunch of nodes running around. Just maybe a more advanced version of that.
Oh yes, definitely, but I feel like the rice in this is definitely quite a bit harder than Lost Legions in the last pool, especially with those bursts that you were talking about. Just really, it's really easy to catch a miss on those sections. And then here, we have a bit more of a LN-oriented section, and we just see very, very difficult releases alongside some of these shorter long nodes, just to screw up some players' accuracies a bit more than any of the other maps in the last pool.
Yeah, it's always those Grace LNs. You find some quick trills, 3 nodes here and there on one hand in between whatever you're having to do on the other 2 columns, just constantly inundated with something to do. And it doesn't seem like it's going to stop anytime soon. Thankfully, the end of the map is fast approaching, but hopefully your run is still intact and hopefully your opponent found something to drop on, because this one's probably going to be hotly contested if it does get picked.
Yes, and also I do want to add that this song is very, very, I guess, weird for a Katagiri song, since I really expect them to have, I guess, more hardcore, but this song is very, very different from their normal songs, and I'm really happy that this is in the pool. But with that being said, that is it for the hybrid category, only having 2 once again, since we are continuing our best of 7. But now onto my personal favorite, the LN category. And our first map is going to be Never Dreaming Night Girl, Wanta remix by MIDI. I believe this is a re-upload. This is from a Begin chart, I believe. So seeing some Korean representation. I haven't really seen Begin too much in terms of mapping LN in tournaments, especially in earlier games, since I know him as more of a late game LN mapper. But it's really, really interesting to see this map itself. We did lower the OD to 7.5, not 8.5. That would be insane. But we do see a reason why for that. We see all these, I guess, quick releases all over the place.
And a very intricate chart overall. Maybe going to be testing the coordination by the looks of it as we make our way through here. And thankfully, to your point, on that OD 7.5, gonna maybe help the non-LN oriented players handle some of the smaller bits of release coordination that you might need.
Yeah, I think this pick I think the LNs in this map will hopefully be played more than the LNs in the last map pool, since they have, I guess, a bit more of physicality based in them. So that's something that may lead Rice players to want to play this. Though we do see, as you did say, quite a few coordination elements for these LN players to succeed really, really well, especially right here with it's basically inverse, not basically baby's first steps into inverse. But we just continue back into these, I guess, more Rice and LN oriented areas, and which is kind of a break from the LN mess that is in most of this map. And here we're now back into the your regular scheduled program of basic LNs.
Yeah, you have all these structures that you have, like one long LN and then basically just short jacks to contend with on the other columns. Does transition into a bit of a single note stream LN, a couple of inverse being reintroduced as well. Nothing too long to stick around longer than it needs to, but this ending going to be very tricky to coordinate. You can imagine that if you find yourself tensing up, very easy to misread or let go of a column too soon, and that will do it for the first LN chart in this pool.
Yep, and that is definitely very Begin-esque, especially towards that end. But now going on to LN2. is going to be Shirogane by Chinozo. That's a Vocaloid, and then Mabo Duofu. And this is going to be our first mid, or no, not first, one of the first mid charts in the bracket stage, I guess.
Yeah, and I imagine this was going to be a little bit more technical, release-oriented, just based on the song itself. I do believe I recognize this from somewhere. The location evades me at the moment, but knowing Mint and her style for LNs, you can imagine a lot of things going to be represented in the notes that you're going to have to play, maybe inherently a bit jack-oriented, but for right now, pretty smooth sailing, nothing too egregious, definitely a little bit less physical overall than the earlier LN chart for now.
Yeah, we definitely see a few more of these jack patterns that you were talking about, very similar to the ukulele in last pool, though I think they're not as prominent just because of how Mint normally charts. Very, very release-oriented. We see a lot of these just really kind of different snapping releases here, as well as kind of dense all over the place while having to like hit these reverse shields, and as well as just having to release just regular notes and holding down just your basic LN patterns, I guess.
Yeah, for sure, and probably at a comfortable BPM. I think a lot of the more rice-oriented players definitely struggle on those slower coordination release-esque charts, and we saw that reflected with ukulele. Maybe if we bump up the BPM a little bit, they get brought back into play to contest against the more LN-oriented players, and we get into a bit of a guitar solo, a couple of single note streams. Definitely don't want to find yourself dropping on those before the LNs make their grand reappearance, and there's still half the chart to go. I forgot to mention the length, 3.5 minutes, so one of the longer charts in this pool, probably the longest one in the LN pool, unless the other one is longer, which I would
I do believe
I would be very surprised.
I do believe this is the longest map in the pool from what I remember. So don't worry, LN players, you will only have to play one long map, and either way it'll most likely be banned if I'm going to be honest, just because of the length. But
yeah.
you know, we're already 2/3 in. As I was saying on the Marmalade Butcher song, the length may be good for some players just because it gives you at least some room for error, where like a miss won't matter as much since there's just so many more notes in the map. And here we're getting back into this chorus. It's very similar to the last one, just continuing this release oriented, as well as like these shields and reverse shields all over the place in between just all the LN structures.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tricky task to coordinate these because some of these release timings do start to get a little confrontational, if I were to put a descriptor on it, especially when you've been playing for this long, trying to keep the mental stamina going to keep going, especially with some of the rice notes that get interspersed in between. You're having to hold down for so long that when you do have to actually lift up your fingers to hit other things that are being asked of you, that can be the hardest thing. And that will do it for the second LN chart in this pool. Only one more to go before we get into that all-important tiebreaker.
Yes, and here is the last LN chart. It is going to be Mei-chan Yori. I believe this was a Soul 3 reject from what I remember. I think the testers were talking about it. And this is definitely a tester favorite from everyone. I don't remember why exactly. It's just, I think just the song is just quite a bit different from anything else in the pool. That everyone just, I guess, really liked the difference in the song type.
Yeah, and this one's definitely a little bit more density oriented just from the early goings here. Definitely having to do a lot more at a much faster pace as you start this song off.
Yeah, we definitely see elements of basically every single song from what I want to say. We see quite a few, I guess, LN jacks similar to the LN1 category. But I think this is probably one of the more dense maps, as Sparky was saying, just with all these, I guess, Ellen streams that are in between everything, and here we see some, and just that definitely adds to the density density of this map, and can be quite difficult for some players if they aren't too comfortable on reading LNs quite well.
Yeah, for sure. So making our way into the last third of the chart, something a little bit shorter to serve as maybe a bit of a palate cleanser for some players, just under 2 minutes. So you have your longer options. You have basically, it's nice having a diverse range. You have a long option, you have a medium option, and then you have the short option, depending on how you want to attack the map pool in your practice. And this one, I think, might be a bit of a favorite for specific types of players, because you tend to rely on your rice skills when trying to play these more density-oriented charts. And as this one comes to an end, there's only one map left for this showcase.
Yep, and the moment everyone has been waiting for, it is going to be the TV here. It is going to be Vanessa by Vila, map by Fola. So a lot of A's in this, a lot of A's in the ending of these names. But this map is actually quite difficult to play. I tried my hand at making the replay, and it was really difficult in my opinion. These these intro LNs actually can be quite difficult to get really good ack on, in my opinion, and also they're quite long, so be aware if you are using Percy, you may have some LN cuts, especially like in this area right here on the right hand column specifically. I found myself taking a break or two just because of that, just because I didn't realize, and I was like kind of autopiloting this intro. But as we get in, we see just the difficulty of this map increase by quite a bit. And I want to say it's just because of how fast it plays.
That's fair enough, and we're adding a minute and a half to the tiebreaker length. As we make our way through here, oh boy, some of these opening structures for the LNs transitioning into the right, it's very hard to coordinate. Already a massive step up from the round of 64 tiebreaker. But as we make our way through here, these mini jacks transitioning, becoming basically shields and reverse shields, don't seem to find a break here, as if you're an LN player having to go into this tiebreaker, this introduction is probably going to be your best opportunity to establish a bit of a lead.
Yeah, though there's quite a few like right structures all over the place that can definitely screw you up if you aren't too comfortable, especially on these any kind of mini jacks, since they're just really scattered all over the place in this map.
Yeah, for sure, and start to tone down the frenetic pacing of that introduction, take stock of the situation, bring back these slower LNs to maybe take a break and recover some accuracy where you start to dive on back into it. Second third of the chart still to come, and a bit more of a jack-oriented structure here. The hands start to come out as well, 3-note and 2-note jumps littered in between.
Yeah, those players are definitely going to need that break earlier just to handle this kind of section right here, since especially after having to play the map pool in its entirety, this can be a bit stressful being on TV, and I know jacks in it of itself can be quite stressful to play, especially with any kind of nerves. It's very easy to just actually maybe mistab, misread, or do anything just to mess up any kind of these nodes. And here we do continue to see these LN structures, LN density bits just come in every so often, very bursty like, and those can definitely cause quite a few misses just to come out for quite a few players.
Oh my goodness, I'm just here with my jaw on the floor, just trying to make sense of some of these transitions. The rice bursts going into this LN anchor mini jack section, it was already hard enough trying to maintain the physicality requirement for that jack section earlier, that going into this, I could definitely see some players that might be hyper focusing on maintaining the accuracy going into this and immediately dropping either a miss or a lot of bad adjustments as they try and reorient themselves to the tempo demands of some of those structures.
Yep, and we will be going into the last fourth of the map, so almost done. These players are gonna have to definitely struggle through this map quite a bit, especially in the TB. We see quite a few more of these LN just density bits all over the place. Just continuing out looking for misses or any kind of 200s. We saw quite a few close matches, and I think, or quite a few close matches in the last one. I think this will definitely be emphasizing the closeness in some of the players. I'm really excited to be able to see players be able to play this map and have really close matches, just taking misses left and right on this map. But coming into the end, we see quite a few reverse shields right after having to play all those rice.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't relent even for a moment, and seeing some of those bursts and seeing the short LNs interspersed in between them can definitely be a bit of a cause for concern. I wonder if you take this into your own client, play with your own skin, maybe it doesn't look as scary, but upon first glance, it's definitely going to be pretty decent way of separating those early game players from the mid to late game oriented players if you do find yourself in a tiebreaker situation. But with that being said, that will do it for the round of 32 map pool showcase for the North America Mania tournament. A couple of things to keep in mind, a couple of orders of business to attend to. If you are in the losers bracket, you don't have to worry about conditional matches just yet. There is still going to be just a singular match inside of a weekend, so don't have to worry about that just yet. Starting in round of 16 will be when you have your conditional matches. For those of you in the winners bracket, you have nothing to worry about. Just don't lose. Sanapple, you have anything else to add?
Nope. Besides that, schedule should be coming out soon. Hopefully in the next 2 days. Hopefully it'll be a bit quicker than it was last time. I'll definitely be on that. So be sure to reschedule as soon as possible if you know that you're going to have problems with your time, since we really don't want to have any win by defaults next week. We had very few last week, so I'm really happy to see just everyone basically being able to play. And then also we'll try our best to stream as many matches next week as possible. It is quite hard. We can't get everybody, so just be understanding of that. But yeah, with that being said, I think that's it. I think it's time to head out for the week, completely end our round of 64, I guess, week, and move into the next one.
Alrighty, till then, we'll catch y'all later.
Good luck!